So today at Chair, we are reflecting on the fact that it's been 5 years this month since we first introduced Infinity Blade. It seems like just yesterday that we were standing on stage with Steve Jobs showing Infinity Blade to the world. So because we're celebrating 5 years, we thought it might be fun to tell you 5 things that you may not know about the development of Infinity Blade. So it was late July 2010 when we got a call from Epic asking if we wanted to work on the first Unreal Engine 3 powered mobile game. And luckily, we always have kind of different game ideas in our back pocket. We saw kind of the rise of some of these motion control systems like the Xbox Kinect or the Wii. And we thought if we were going to make a game using one of these motion controllers, what would we do? And we'd kind of concepted this idea for this really cool one-on-one sword fighting game. And then we started to think about that for mobile. And we realized not only would it be feasible on a mobile device, it would actually be better. That using your fingers to swipe a sword would be the perfect mobile design. Naming a game is, in my opinion, actually the hardest thing you do in making a game. And Infinity Blade was no exception. That wasn't something we just arrived at instantly. Originally, we thought the game was going to be called Marrow, like bone marrow. In our earliest concept of the Infinity Blade, the idea was that it was encapsulated in this bone-like shell, almost like you'll see in the game, the marrow bone or the marrow blade. That was actually kind of some of the original design for the Infinity Blade, and it was only later in the game that we reveal that actually encapsulated inside the sword, like the marrow of a bone, was this ancient, powerful, godlike blade called the Infinity Blade. So people always want to know if we knew that Infinity Blade was going to be successful. And the truth is, we had no idea. We had no sales forecast for Infinity Blade. And I remember the night before the game came out, a reporter asked me how we thought the game was going to do. And I looked around Chair and I counted the number of employees there, and I'm like, well, I think we'll sell 11 copies because that's how many people worked at Chair. And we were just shocked and surprised and delighted that so many people loved playing the game that we had worked so hard to make. Something that really surprised us 5 years ago was how popular in-app purchases were in the game. In fact, when we first launched the game, it had a single price of $5.99, and that was the whole game, and we balanced it accordingly. But almost immediately, we were inundated with requests from players who wanted us to add an in-app purchase feature. And so we did. Because our kind of mantra at Chair is empower players, give them what they want. And man, we're so glad that you asked us to add that, because as Mark Rain has said many times, that's generated a lot of revenue for us, so thanks. The game that most directly inspired Infinity Blade is an older game called Karateka by Jordan Mechner. And I first played Karateka back on an old Apple, forever ago. And it was this side-scrolling kind of karate game where you fought enemies one-on-one. I just really loved the idea that you could kind of encapsulate the whole experience in one single location, and that every fight kind of felt like the boss fight in a movie. And we just thought, how cool would it be to make a game kind of structured like that, but do it with, in a fantasy sci-fi setting where it was this lone knight who is setting out on kind of the final quest to take down the Dark Lord, and that every encounter would feel like a big epic boss fight, and it would be structured in a similar way. We're just so happy and so grateful for all of you that have joined us along the way.